Last time on the Hoosier Garage. You're watching the most unique automotive channel on YouTube, the Hoosier Garage.
So I've been doing a little bit of work this morning on our, I don't know, you call it a bench or a crossover piece or, you know, wheel well box, whatever you want to call it. I've added this plywood facing to it. Mainly, I got it tacked in there pretty good with some screws. It's not complete though. And I happen to have these right here. I've got two of them. And total accident, they fit perfectly. Okay. Now what had happened was there's a house a couple doors down and across the street from me who has been renovating for probably a year and a half. And it's probably a 1950s, early 60s house. And they would periodically throw out stuff, and you know, being somebody you know, nostalgic minded, retro grade situation that I am, I always look for something interesting. And I noticed these have kind of the cool hardware. They got the little square screws with the flat heads, and you know, they got the little buttons. The buttons are actually kind of a hot little thing. People like those. Obviously these need cleaned up, but this was part of their, I guess, kitchen cabinets. And of course, people don't want this stuff anymore. They want to make it all sterile and white and all this kind of business. So they had this out there for the trash to pick up. And guess who came over there and picked them up? Me. So I got the cabinets. I got actually some bigger doors just like this. And I was thinking about making some doors in these spaces right here. Then you can put tool bags or any other smaller components and kind of hide them out of the way. And I thought, well, let me grab those doors instead of making new ones, you know, little cheapy ones out of plywood. So I had these out back and I held them up. I'm like, whoa, this is amazingly unplanned and perfect. So I put the latch in here. They got the buttons like I mentioned. And there's our door. And you know, you can finish this out, or I might paint it. These the framework in here, or just, you know, like I said, put maybe some paint. Like I don't want to keep cutting into this and putting it a face there, so I might put something in a little deeper here, and maybe something back in here. And we'll just see on that. We'll see what we want to do. But really, what I want to do is make the duplicate like I've done with the framework, like we did in the last video. And put our panel, which comes all over, it's a surround all the way around here, and duplicate it over here on this side, and then we'll mount this door here. Now you'll notice that the latches are in different directions. I didn't have, you know, this one's favoring the top, this one's favoring the bottom, because they was actually both the same direction, you know, like that. So without doing a bunch of surgery, I'm just gonna leave them like that. You won't see them that much back here, but when you do, it'll look kind of cool, kind of period correct. And one thing I did have to do here was, since this has this leg drop down, I had to pull this bracing piece off and cut it so where it fits around it. That way, I know it's a little hard to see here, but it fits like it should. And then we just put the latch in after kind of figuring out the depth of it here, you know, this sort of thing. So a little bit of carpentry involved. And yeah, we'll just do it. Same thing on this side. Alright, so I took this boxed in area that we built last episode. It was here, flipped it around. This gap is the one that goes here, so it's backwards right now. I cut a piece to fit this area down here. It'll come up to the back of the door where the hinges are right here. So I'm gonna go ahead and pilot hole some stuff here, get it fastened down. I make sure that it's kind of squared up on the top, on the bottom, or on the edge. And it's not perfectly square in my framework, especially on this one for some reason. But just something got away from me. But you can kind of use this to help kind of make up that difference. And so I'll go get this screwed down, and then we'll move into the building kind of the extra little piece around there, kind of the surround, and then we'll try to fit a door in there. All right, now just to kind of refresh what I had actually done here. The overall dimensions of this side is the same as this one. It did come out very, very, very close to that one. So once I got the whole outside of it measured, I measured from that end, it went to the inside of this where the kind of the door jamb is here. And that came out to 34 3/8. So that's what I cut this piece to. This was actually a full single piece, but I didn't have enough to make 2 full single pieces. So I measured from there to there, and that fit very well. I got it squared up on there good. So that left me with this little extra piece I had. I cut it down to the same height as this one, which again on mine is 15.5. So then I had to get the dimension to cut out, because you're really just kind of creating a frame here. So I measured up from this one. I got 5/8 tall on that one, so I started there as my baseline. So I came off the edge of this straight edge, 5/8, and then measured this part where it recesses into the cabinet. So not the face, you don't want the face on there, but on this one I got 14.25. So I went 14.25 both ways. Now I took a square, came off of it both directions. It came up here very even there, and then I just measured the width of it. So instead of going this way, I went this way, and I got right on 14. So I came off of this edge here, which is the same as that one, and went 14. Now, seeing as, you know, it's wood and there's, you know, little, this is old, this is new, kind of stuff like that, give yourself enough room for it to expand and contract. Get heat hot and cold. Some of it might swell up certain times and then go down the other, so it might jam, stick. So try to leave yourself enough room when you cut it with the blade. And on this round, it's in these long, straight pieces, I am using a circular saw, or a skill saw. Circular saw is the generic. So I'm using that, cutting them outside to avoid all the dust flying around here and getting all over my interior. So that's one additional tool I've used from the last episode, not just using the jigsaw. And you could use a jigsaw on this one. What I would say to do, if you have a full piece, drill you a couple holes inside of the corners there, and then cut away and then trim the corners in. But this one here, you can come right here and just cut into it, cut this U shape out, and this piece will disappear. And then we'll have to mount it in here, brace it up a little bit on the side that doesn't have anything, or just cut it away altogether. I'm not really completely decided if I want to keep that bottom piece. I might trim it and just do away with it and have a nice smooth area there, but we'll see. It's all what you want to do. It's your project. There's no rules here other than just make it fit nice and not be a rattle trap or a big danger device. So I'm going to cut this out, start fitting it up, and then we'll see what's next. Okay, so I'm about ready to fit my door after I've put this little piece of frame on. It sets a little lower here. Now this is some of my carpentry discrepancies, but it sits square on this frame, so I'm going to go with that because this will ultimately be hidden. Okay, I'm going to have a real thin sheet of probably cherry finished plywood over top of that, and that'll still keep us within our perimeters. The only thing that'll keep us out of perimeter, just kind of going side note here, is this door handle that sticks out. All right, but no big deal really. I mean, if you get in a real pinch, you get something that tall. I mean, if I'm hauling drywall, most of it's going to be down here. Even if I get a bunch of drywall, you can come clear up to here, several inches, and you can slide it in through there. Worst case scenario, if you carry your tools with you in here, you can open this up, that sort of deal. Actually, open it up like that, and then take the screws out, and then put it back in later. So anyways, back over to this. Since this is going to interfere with that, we're going to have to trim it. Now you see I've got a line there, and how I determine that line is I just set it down over here. And you're not going to get dead on because it sets down on the framework first before the finish lip fits down in there. Okay, the piece slips down inside of this plywood. But you kind of have it squared up here. Take a little time, see it's a little high there, so we want to come back down that way. This corner looks pretty good here. And we see what we're getting. It's going to be tight ultimately right here if we leave that on. Back here it looks like it'll fit. So that's why I came in under here with the pencil. And there's our line. So what we want to do, I want to remove these 3 flathead screws. You can see they're kind of randomly just in there so they don't go through probably the thinnest part or this fluted piece right here. So we want to remove these. And honestly, we want to move all of them because we need to take this off. It'll be a lot easier to cut it that way. So you just reuse these where they are. But it just helps make it all simpler. It's been previously kind of glued on. Of course, this is probably 60 years old, maybe somewhere in that area. So we just want to chop this off. And what we'll do, we'll reestablish these 3 screws. 1, 2, 3. So we'll just move them over. You'll still get your good bond on it, and then everything will fit up just like it does on the other side. So here's our piece, how it'll set. Grab me some glue on there like that, and you can see the holes here through here. So you just line those up, get them in the neighborhood, stick you one back in there, get a pilot going. It'll find the hole that it was in before, and you'll be good. Drill a pilot hole. Go about there. Pretty much the thickness of this. I'll put another one here. Like so. And then I'll just do kind of a triangle pattern here. And we're staying away from that. If I come in right there. So I'll just take a bigger drill bit that would compensate for that size. And just hit it a little bit so it dishes it out a little bit. A lot of times that helps it from cracking this piece, even though you drill everything and you get that head going in there and it widens it out and it splits. There we have it, and it should. Hinges it out over there. The exception of maybe some trimming, it should fit it pretty good. There's a little hang up over here somewhere. Let's see. Yeah, and I think what happens is this needs to be trimmed down a little bit. And, I had to do the same thing on the other side. Yeah, it's actually touching a little bit here. When I cut it, it's a little wobbly, so I might take our rasp and see if I can file that away. Get enough of a gap to where, like I said, the expand and contract kind of thing won't be an issue. Okay, so I've got the door on here. We got the latch catch put on there, and how you adjust that is just with this one you can get from the back side and just find the depth of where the thing clicks in. And I'm not going to get into all that because I'm not very good at explaining it. But we've got 2 of these. They're fairly symmetrical. So we've got the latch here, got the little button, open it, and our latch, that sort of thing. Same thing over here, only the button's on the other side, meaning the bottom, just because of the way that it was on the cabinet situation. But it actually works out pretty good because you can still take it and squeeze the bottom, and it's not difficult, it's not awkward, and you're good there. So I guess what I'm going to work on next, I'm going to go ahead and try to figure out how to do the tops on here. I'll probably go with thinner plywood on that. And I do have some brackets built to mount it to the studs in the walls of the van. Okay, you can hear that. There's no insulation there. I kind of covered that, and my desire to put these brackets in here. I've got one built here. It needs to be driven into the stud on the wall, and we need to put this one on here. I'll show you that in a bit. But I just like to figure out, to get this put into place, how I want. Oh, and I realized one thing. You know, I showed you the handle on this side, how it's like that much higher off the floor. Well, if you look at this one, it's much lower. So if you do have a situation where you're hauling something, or me, you know, I'm probably the only one's going to do it this way, haul something that's right at that max of 4 feet. If I get up to here, that's when I'm going to start having issues. But maybe I won't. Maybe you could just put a block here and then tilt them in here sideways, and then you'd be just as good. And the other side of us is this. Got some MDF here, and I basically just play to fill it in. How do you see? Let me see. Let me pull this out. Since I have kind of a gusseting over the wheel well type scenario, you can kind of see here, I put MDF, filled this kind of triangular corner piece. I did the same thing here, an upright, and then on the downward part here, I have a piece in there. Glued it up really good. And there's also a piece in here, but since we put the glue on over top of it, can't see it. I'll probably put another piece in here since I'm going to the thinner finished plywood, and that'll pretty much box this in. And then this will get cut out for a 6x9. And then probably the paneling that's similar to, like, not similar, but that is this back here, this store-bought paneling type stuff. I might do it over this. I'm still kind of in the air on that too, but we're getting close to there where that'll be, because there'll be a wall across here that'll break down, and almost for sure that will be this stuff. And then I might do the cherry over here all the way around, so the whole wheel well might be cherry. But I took my, I have a little Wonder Boom Bluetooth speaker, and when you put it down in there, just for giggles, it sounds pretty cool down there. It's really bassy. So I need to get me some speakers, and we'll run some speaker wire. Probably, I might run it actually down below here. I might put a little trench in the floor here, this wood floor, and then cover it, and then have it come up underneath here. Not sure on that either. You know, you can go so many different directions. It's not like a car where you kind of have to go certain ways. You know, you're stuck creatively with some of it. Alright, so I'm sorry you didn't see a whole lot of that MDF situation, but you get the basic idea of it. Right now, since I can't complete all this up here, I'm just trying to fill up my time with the rest of the project here. And what I've got going on here is basically the wall, the short wall, that will ultimately go between these two wheel well boxes, and it'll likely set up there across. I might get a little fancy and drop it back, a couple inches or something, and then try to do some trim work around it. But I cut both of these long strips the same size, what this one is here, and we got your uprights at the same. I think they're 12.5, both exactly the same. I used a square here when I went to screw the pieces together, and I'm using glue. on the joints like that. So I'm gonna go ahead and put this piece across here, and I'll put a couple more uprights in here, probably just 2 more. Keep it a little on the light side, but you know, sturdy enough. And then it'll really have to come into shape when we get these to where they can mount into the wall. Because right now this one will slide out a little bit just naturally, and this one's not all the way back. So you get your kind of permanent level on everything once those are fastened in and fastened down and all that good stuff. And then I can kind of fit this one in. But I had to push them up and clamp them, push that one back, and that one's about as far as that will go. And that's how I got my measurement side to side. Put a little bit of glue up here, set it up there, make it all flush, side to side. All that good stuff there. And there we've got our basic frame. A little wobble to it. We'll straighten that out when we get the other pieces in there. That'll help brace it up straight. And like I said, although it doesn't fit all the way in there right now, that's kind of how it'll sit. It'll sit in that position there. And my thing is to make it, again, modular to where I can pop that thing out real easy. But at the same time, when I put the cover across here, the bed top, I want to be able to, like a hood on a car, tonneau cover, whatever, and swivel it up. So it might get a couple of hinges on there, or like a real long piano hinge. And if you're not sure what a piano hinge is, that's the real long hinges, kind of like you'd have on a grand piano, something like that. So might do that. A lot of it's just feeling it out. Some people are really good about it. They can plan this stuff ahead, especially in woodworking, carpentry type thing. I'm not. I kind of have to have it in front of me and see what capabilities that I can do with it. So I apologize. I jumped ahead a little bit. I haven't filmed the last couple of days because really I've been trying to figure out how I really want to do this. You get these thoughts in your head, these plans, these little engineering that you try to mock up in your brain, but reality kind of moves things around, and you might realize it doesn't work as good as the way you thought, but it might work better another way, and sometimes that other way works out for the better. So it won't look that much different from when you saw it just in the last clip, but there's been a lot of movement here, and I'll show you basically what I've been doing. So just a quick gander here at it, you see there is speaker grills here, okay? These are actually vintage Radio Shack realistic brand speaker grills. They were still in the package. I found them really like $5 a piece, and they got that old school look. They're just plastic, and they came with the hardware. So that just looks, that's perfect. That's nailed it, okay? And I went ahead and finished the enclosure on that one over there. And yeah, so we're good there. Now what will need to be done, I ordered some speakers, 6x9s, and there's no holes cut in there other than just for the screws. So that'll have to be taken care of. But this whole piece will just pop out aside from the little finish nails, okay? But we'll get into that later. Right here, I just have a piece just tacked on there. I'm not really sure. I'd like to maybe get another one. I mean, I've actually ran out of, this is cherry finish plywood, and I ran out, but this was perfect for that, so I just kind of stuck it on there for now. It might go away. And then you see that I took some more of the paneling like up here and did this one, and then the same thing on that side. So we're getting a little bit of finish on that one. So I'm pretty happy about that. Now, if you're noticing anything different here, it might be these dowel pins. Use some pretty heavy duty dowel pin that I had. Actually, it's what I used on our snack tray, the pedestals. I just used a couple pieces off of it, and I had a big stick left, so I thought, well, this would be good. It's not too wide, it's not too narrow, it's got some sturdiness to it. So one of my ideas, and you might remember from earlier, was that I would take this wall and be able to shift it forward, and it would be flush with this and go across here. And that would be for the extension of the bed. Well, I'm kind of realizing I don't really need, like, whatever this is, about 8 inches just to extend this piece, okay? And I was planning on doing these holes up here, and then basically there's a hole here and a hole here. You can see the other one down in there. And they are just like pressure point pins, and they will hold it in. So, see that? I'm gonna put eye hooks on them to where you can stick your finger in there and just twist them out a lot easier, as opposed to trying to pull them out like this. Some of them will come out easier than others. If I twist it enough, it will come out like that, okay? And you can just take it, and it'll sink all the way in. And I have taken a, I think it was a 1 1/4 inch spade bit and ran it in about halfway into one of the stud work here. It's actually the one that's going downward at an angle. So it's bit into there good. Down here, it is not into anything but the actual plywood, the 1/2 inch plywood. But I might be able to brace it, the backside, with a little bit thicker piece, just to kind of help thicken that up and give it a little bit more to hang on to there. So pretty much duplicated, same thing on here. If you take those 4 pins out, this thing will pop loose and you can move it, okay? Now I do have this piece coming up to it, so it'll only go backwards at the moment. But I had another plan that if I want to utilize the length through here for something long, then I want to shave this down, and then see how these hinges are here? This is for the top part. I want to be able to put a hinge down here and then mount the other part to the floor, to where this, once I take these pins out, it can actually swing forward and plop down onto this shag part, and then you can actually lay whatever it is you're hauling on top of this part here. So you see what I'm saying? Do you understand what I'm saying? Notice how originally, if you remember from earlier, this pretty much eliminated here. This was not existent. But this is some of the pieces I cut from when I did around the motor cover there. And you see how well it blends together. It's actually separate pieces. So once you kind of pull them back and mesh them together, get the right measurement. There's actually a piece here and a piece here. I can tie them all together like a carpet company would, and then they'll work really good that way, and you just cannot tell where the seam is on it. So that's pretty cool. I like that. If you use something short, you'd absolutely see it. You'd see a stitch even if you did it really good. So this stuff, kind of, as funky as it is, it doesn't give you a funky result there. So what I have here is a 4x8 sheet of 1/2 inch blonde wood finish plywood. One side is primed, and you're looking at the prime side, which is kind of like a whitewashing. Has a really smooth, fine grain in it. And I have a little bit of a spot here that's split. And I was actually able to haul this in the van today. We just knocked that piece down like I was explaining. And it worked out fairly good. But like I kind of wondered, this handle got in the way. But we put it up at an angle, and it was fine. Took a piece of cardboard and laid it out inside the van. This part I wrote seat and forward, so this is go the forward part of the van. It would set about there, and then you take for some of the 2x3s, it'll actually set it out further than what I have drawn on there. It'll actually come up to about here, like so. What's going to happen is I will cut these individual pieces out. So far it's 3, and I'm thinking there's going to be 4, and I have an idea for the 4th, and I'll explain why later as I get kind of the mental part of it together. got the other hole drilled in there. I've also added some beeswax to these after I've seen them now. Probably when you get this much minutia going on here, they're going to be a little tight to pull out, even with these hooks that I've had on here. They're just little eyelet hooks, enough to put my finger in. Took a pilot hole, drilled them, and then went a little bit bigger on the bit, and then these screw right in. I put a little glue in them just to help them kind of seat in there and stay. So I've got one kind of pre-planted in there, and put one in there too. So pull this thing back where the holes line up. You just push them in until they're at least sticking out the back of the plywood on the inside of the boxes a little bit. Like I said, we'll reinforce that. So far you have this, you have the position set, and now you're just kind of left with trying to figure out that back section, how you can lean against it, because right now I could set on this no problem. You know, other than laying back onto the back part, you don't want to do that. There's really the only thing that's really holding it is the hinge. Just a small piano hinge right now. I don't have a full length one across here. So it's going to rip it out if I lean back against this, because see, there's some spring to it, and we just don't have any upper back support. So I'm going to try to figure out what to do there and try to move to the next step. And so I think that'll be enough for this particular episode. Join us for the next one, whenever it releases, whenever I figure all this out. And thanks for coming to the Hoosier Garage. Like, subscribe, tell your friends, and whatever else that makes YouTubers famous.